what's going to be? How's it hanging? How's it happen? You guys know who this is. This is Kevin from the Chord Progression Podcast. The podcast, Rolling Stone says, initiates profound discussions with rock and metal artists, allowing fans to discover the creative workflow of their favorite musicians and understand the factors that make the band succeed or fall from fame. We are also sponsored by Dark Fusion Systems, the best for your custom computing needs. Get $100 off your entire bill with the code CPPOD at darkfusionsystems.com. Link to the podcast below. Now, 3 years ago, we had Bryan from Fame on Fire on the podcast, and I absolutely love talking to him. So today we get another half hour with him, and it's oh so sweet. We talk about the brand new album, The Death Card, coming out on September 6th. We go deep into its roots in tarot, because each song is based off a different tarot card, and why the final song in the album, Lie to Me, is honestly Bryan's best vocally and probably one of the best written songs you will hear all year. Are you guys ready? Let's go! Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of the Chord Progression Podcast. I've been waiting to do this once again for 3 years with this guy. Watching this band consistently work. They're always out on the road. They're always doing something new. They are never stopping. I've seen them gone on the road with Ice Nine Kills, Falling in Reverse. They've even gone out on their own doing some headlining shows. They came out with the new album in 2022, which went really well, called Welcome to the Chaos. But now it's 2024 with a brand new album called The Death Card coming out on September 6th. You are going to be wanting to hear this one. And if you want to see them perform it live, well, they're going to be going on tour with Wage War in the fall, so be sure to go check them out. But why not prepare for the album with us right now? So please welcome Bryan from Fame on Fire back to the podcast. So Bryan, welcome back.
I feel like I don't even need to say anything. I feel like you got it all covered.
I just went through really quickly, like bing, 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 bing. All right, we're good. See everybody, we're done.
Yeah, you just summarized my life for the next so months.
Yeah, but it's still awesome, though, just to see the fact that you guys are still not stopping. You guys are going out performing with Wage War later on in the year, and seeing how big Wage War has gotten, playing Stigma, and just seeing the massive crowds you're going to be playing to. I mean, you've got another great chance to get in front of even more people. But the other fact matters, there's a lot of people that are going to be going to these shows that already know your sound from what you guys have done in the past and have probably seen you in the past. So it's going to be like gaining new fans, but seeing a whole bunch of friends once again.
Yeah, that's like the thing. It's like when we got asked to do this tour, we were like, this is like the ultimate homie tour. Like all the bands on it are super cool guys. Like we're boys with Wage War, and we're like, this is gonna be like a really fun tour for us to be a part of. Like I don't know what everybody else is gonna be doing, but I hope we can kick it. I hope we can have like a lot of fun. Maybe do some like barbecues or whatever the fuck. But I'm really looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to like watching the boys at Wage rip it every night. Because I saw them at Rockville, but I feel like that's been too long, you know? So I'm excited for that. I'm excited for Era. Like, I think it's going to be a great tour.
I'm almost certain it's going to be. And you might want to tell the guys at their Wage War, like, hey, just make sure someone brings a grill with them on tour. So, we can just have that moment where everyone comes together and we just grill a bunch of meat, sitting in a parking lot, playing some bags, just doing whatever the hell we feel like and having a blast.
I feel like that's probably already on their list. And if not, we'll probably go to like a KOA and be like, yo, you guys want to have a camping day where we take their $1 million bus to a fucking campground?
Hey, as long as the bus doesn't get stuck like some of those massive trailers I've seen get stuck in random little fields, I think you'll be okay.
I think we're going to be all right.
You better be. Otherwise, there's going to be major problems in the Wage War camp if they can't get $1 million bus out of a little hole. Like, I don't even want to think about that. Yeah.
Actually, who knows? Maybe the bus driver will be like, no, fuck you guys. I'm not doing that. Because bus drivers are kind of like that.
Just tell the bus driver, hey, we'll cook for you, man. Like, we're not just going to leave you out of this.
That's true. Well, see, when we tour, we're in something smaller. It's called like a bandwagon usually, or it could even be smaller than that. But those, like, they don't follow any rules. When you have a bus driver, they have to follow a very strict amount of rules. Because they have their CDLs, which allows them to drive big ass buses. But also sometimes they'll just use it as an excuse to just not do something because they're just they're either like pieces of shit. The rule is they're like either not really good people, but they know everything about the bus, know how to work on it and make it run properly, or they're really cool, but they know nothing about the bus. So you really got to pick your poison.
Or you just got to find the driver, the unicorn one out there that knows exactly everything about the vehicle you're driving, but is also really cool, really chill, and just makes it an absolute blast to be on the road.
Exactly. That's the hope.
That's the hope and that's the dream. And I'm pretty sure, like, I'm random friends on Facebook with a guy that's been driving for you for a while. So I'm just like, I see him pop up every time talking about Fame on Fire. So I'm like, Huh. You guys must like this guy or something. I don't know.
Which one is it? Because like we've had a couple different drivers, based on schedule and stuff. Like, is it
Yeah.
Mayhem Jesus?
Yep. It's Mayhem Jesus.
Yeah, I love Mayhem Jesus. No, he's the homie. Um, right now we're working with a guy. His name's Kevin. Kevin's great too. They're all just great people. Like I've really appreciated some of our drivers that we've had on these tours.
Always appreciate your driver. And as your new driver, Kevin, I got to say, that dude's got a great name.
Oh yeah, it's one of the best names out there.
Oh, I have to agree. So thank you for that. But not only you guys playing, shows with Wage War, but a brand new album coming out on September 6th called The Death Card. And you went through like a different tarot card on all of these different songs. Because when I was looking through it, going through it, I literally had to look up these tarot cards to get a better understanding of these songs to really encapsulate that in there. So what was the overall idea to bring all these different tarot cards into this album and really relate to the whole entire piece of it so that each song had this interconnected feel?
Yeah, we wanted to have like a very specific theme to the album. And we didn't really know what it was at first until we started like dabbling into the whole idea of having tarot cards to be the theme. And at first, like we were like, okay, let's see where we can take this, like where this can go. And as we started getting deeper down the rabbit hole, also my sister is very big into tarot and very big into that whole world. So I talked to her about it, and she's like, "Yeah, that'd be really cool. That'd be such a great idea." I was like, "Okay." So we started dabbling more into this world and getting to know the cards, getting familiar with the way it all works, and we're like, "This could be really cool if we like package this all together. If we make every song about these individual cards, and if we just have like some really cool imagery that goes along with this." So we wanted to create some sort of like ghostly distorted figure that you can't really make out, which is now very present in all of our videos. And we wanted it all to connect using tarot. And so yeah, it was definitely thought out and definitely very planned and definitely very fucking hard.
I can see it being incredibly difficult because if you're trying to connect all these different pieces together with this album and have it relate to a different tarot card, you have to make sure that the story, the message, and just everything you're portraying is really going to match up with one of these specific cards. And of course, with how many people are into tarot and how many people get so deep into it, they're really going to look for the meaning, they're going to look for the connection, and they're really going to dive even deeper than anybody else is going to. But you had the luxury of having your sister who's very into this, so she's able to kind of help out with this work with you. So you can really get that full understanding of not only the story that you're trying to tell, how that mysterious figure is going to play in the videos to really show it in a visual aspect, but it's going to make sense all the way throughout. Plus, you get to bring your sister in the album creation process in a way too. And how many people can say they got to do that?
Yeah, that's true. And it was very helpful because I would send her over lyrics and I'd be like, how is this? Because like some of the songs we already had names for, and I was like, okay, I got to make this song about this. Like The Fool, we already had it named The Fool. So it's called Nothing Left the Fool. I was like, how do I make this? I believe it's Nothing Left.
Yep.
Everything had the name of the card before it had the name of the song for us when we were working on them. So it's like we know The Fool is the fool, and also I say the fool in that song, but the name of the song is Nothing Left. And so like for that song, I would like send my lyrics off to my sister. I'd be like, hey, like is this like, am I in the right ballpark on this? And because like I would read up on the cards because I was like, I want to write a song about the fool. And she's like, yes, you're nailing on this one. And then I would send her another song like Nightmare. Nightmare was actually a different card to begin with. And she told me, she's like, I don't think that this card is really fitting to this song. But if you went with something like the devil, that would fit really well. And so it was like things like that where I'm like, oh, that's tight. Okay, cool. Let's do that. And then there was like multiple revisions with it because we would go, like we would sit down with everybody and I would go, okay, this is going to this is going to this. And then everyone would be like, are you sure that that one pertains to this? And then we would like kind of look into it a little bit more. And it also could get a little bit more confusing too because there's reverse meanings, but we're not going to go based off of that. We're going to go off the face card meanings, like the proper normal meanings of everything. But yeah, trying to get everything figured out and like writing the songs about the cards was hard. It was definitely hard.
That's definitely intense for someone who doesn't have that embedded knowledge of the cards like your sister would. So when it comes to pertaining to these things and presenting them, especially on the face value side, not the reverse side, because I had to look this stuff up too and learn a little bit more about tarot cards and how the whole entire process works to really dive deeper in this album and really understand where everything was coming from the story aspect to really seeing how a lot of the emotion brought out in these songs not only pertain to the cards, but absolutely impacted you upon the listening experience. And you absolutely did, your due diligence to make sure everything was in line correct, that people could recognize it if they were into tarot, if they weren't into it, and could just jump into it looking at the face, not the reverse. But it absolutely is an incredible piece that you went so deep into it. I mean, there's not many bands that really go that deep into, like, we've seen concept albums before, but this is like a concept where you really have to even go deeper because there is so much more that could be going into it due to how many people interpret these cards in different ways and what the overall community, especially from tarot readers, are going to look into this, especially when they find out, yeah, each song has a different card connected to it. They're going to probably look through this with like a fine tooth comb and like super duper magnifying glass to figure out if you got it right or not.
Yeah, and definitely was expecting that, and still is, and I'm still expecting that because we did everything we could to make it as genuine to us and also like not disingenuous to anybody that is in that world, because we think it's very cool and we're like, we want this to be part of us. And so not only is it pertaining to them, but it's also, we had to dive into it ourselves. So it's like, we can fucking talk about it all day now. Like we know our shit now, but like, you can also be a little bit forgetful, but it's like, it was something super important that we wanted to like, not just touch on, but dive into. Because you can't just like half-ass something like that because it won't go over well. I think you have to like really give it everything you have.
Well, not only, it wouldn't go over well, especially within the community, but if you just half-assed it, then you would be potentially missing out on some of those deeper meanings that these cards have to really relate to some of these songs. So then as you're connecting these songs with these cards, now you're seeing how some of these lyrics, these sounds just absolutely impact the emotion and the meanings that these cards have, so that when you're doing your revisions, now you have a more understanding of where to go with this, so you can drive towards that instead of just trying to potentially drive towards where a different meaning is going to go just to present in a different capacity. Like if you're trying to put this one little cool, piece of a breakdown or for the bridge into this song because it has this cool flow to it, but if it doesn't connect to the overall emotion and storytelling that card is portrayed, then you're going to miss out on the entire experience. So you going that deep into it was an absolutely necessary thing to make sure this whole entire thing would work out to perfection.
100%. 100%.
Yeah. And when it came to some of these songs, well, because I know you've got a couple of singles out right now, one thing I like to ask artists is take away the singles right now because those are out. Everyone's listening to them. What songs or one song or songs, multiple songs that have not been released yet, are you most excited for people to check out and why?
I'm really excited for The Fool. I absolutely love that song. It's very riffy and it's got a sick ass fucking breakdown in it too. And then also Chains, I'm very stoked for. Honestly, I'm excited for the whole album. I'm, like I started thinking about like more songs that are gonna come out from this, but those are like gonna be like the next two that come out. But I'm really looking forward to people hearing "Lie to Me" because that one's really really cool. That one's very close to me. That one was very hard to write. And so yeah, that's probably the most like I would say exposed I've ever been on a song. So I'm excited for people to hear that one.
See, because I've listened to it without giving anything really away from it. It's the one I'm most excited for people to check out is "Lie to Me." And
okay,
you know,
yeah, so
I love going into those mosh. I love hitting people hard. I love just the nasty breakdowns. I love the energy and everything throughout this whole entire album. I don't think you made a better song than "Lie to Me," just based off of how open you were, how exposed you were to the whole entire piece of it, but just the way the instrumental accompaniment with your voice, and you can feel the emotion and the sheer just kind of agony at times in your voice and how you feel about this whole entire thing out in this song. It was definitely audible to hear the struggle that's in there, but that's part of the song. That's where the beauty of it comes in, and that's why I thought it was the best song on the record.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate it. Yeah, that was the last song that we wrote, and it was the last song that we recorded. And I was doing like, every day I would go in the studio and fully track a different song. and I was just like fucking destroying my voice. And so Lie to Me is just kind of like the tail end of all of it. And I'm just like kind of like really I'm fucked up emotionally in the sense because like when I'm writing an album, I live in the headspace of my album. Like that darkness that you feel from the album is definitely where I am placed. Like that is all real, that is all genuine. I don't know how to not be there while writing an album, but that's just where I go. And so like, you know, emotionally and like physically exhausted, and that's the last thing that came out of me.
Oh, a perfect way to put that too, because especially when you are trying to portray what you're trying to portray here, you need that physical exhaustion, you need that mental exhaustion to put yourself in that headspace to really bring it out. And I've listened to what you've done beforehand too, and what you've done on this album, and I know where your voice comes from. And this definitely had more of a challenge behind it to really bring that emotion out, which is why when I wrote down when it comes to Bryan's vocals on this song, I have to say I think this is his best work so far.
Well, thank you. Yeah,
just based on.
Honestly, I owe a lot of things to Eric Ron for really pushing the shit out of me because he knew I don't know, like I mean he's very experienced in this world, but he knew exactly what to do to like piss me off enough and like push me enough to get what he needed out of me. And it's it's like I was so wrapped up in all the moments of everything, but like he knew exactly what to do to get the absolute best out of me, and I really respect him for that. And like I consider him a great friend now because of all like I went through. It feels like I went through a fucking boot camp with him, but it's like he did exactly what he needed to do in order to get the best out of me.
But you need that too, especially from someone that's going to work with an album and help produce it as well, because maybe they're picking up on some where they want. It's like, yeah, I know where you're coming from. I know where your voice needs to be, but right now where you're at just isn't exactly where it needs to be to have that emotional impact that you're trying to have. So of course, piss you off, prod you a little bit, just kind of poke you like, come on, do this, get you annoyed enough to the point where you are hitting it in that emotional headspace so that when you are putting it on the record, it comes out that way. It has the presentation of that. So when we listen to it, when it's on the recorded version, when we're streaming it, when we got it on vinyl, when we hear it live, we absolutely feel the power that is behind this song and the emotion behind it. And you absolutely knocked it out of the park on this one.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate that.
And even going beyond that too, one thing that I had actually enjoyed about the album was, as I was going through it, it was like the last three songs, Unalive from 10 of Swords, Closure with the World, and of course Lie to Me, 7 of Swords. Those are my three favorite tracks on the album. Like, and they're all the way at the back end too. Like, how is this possible? Usually there's one all the way at the top, but no, my three favorite tracks all the way at the bottom.
Wait, you said Unalive, Closure, and
Lie to Me.
Lie to Me. Yeah. That's funny. Yeah, dude, Unalive is a fun one. I actually forgot that song existed. I haven't listened to the album in a minute, but yeah, Unalive is a really fun one. That one almost was like our first single, but like I don't know what the deal. It might be a post-album single. We'll see what happens with that. But like that one's a really cool one. We played that one live before too. Like there was like we played it live for I think our headlining tour, and I hated playing it live because it was so fucking hard to sing. Every song on this record is pretty fucking hard to sing. Like none of them are easy. And it's actually really annoying. Because I remember I was thinking to myself going into this, I was like, I'm gonna write songs for myself that are easier to sing this time. And then that didn't happen. That did not happen this time. So that's gonna be fun. But yeah, Unalive is fucking sick. Closure sick. They're all like every song on this album is just a great song. And I really love it. Like even Habits. Habits was a song that almost didn't make the record. But what ended up happening is that like we were like, okay, it needs to go on the record because it's like part of the completion of everything that we were working on. But also like I would listen to it. I'm like, okay, this song to me isn't like the best when it comes to like intricate melodies or like that much interesting things musically, but like lyrically, that fucking song slaps.
Oh yeah, it absolutely does.
Yeah, and I remember a really big inspiration behind it, and then like I'm totally down to catch a lawsuit. Was Linkin Park's "Breaking the Habit." So literally, like the first line of the chorus is like, "I don't know what I'm fighting for," and like that's literally the first line of "Breaking the Habit."
Yeah, it's the first line of the chorus, but I mean, first line of the verse, first line of the chorus. You build off that. How many other artists have used that same line in the past, 21 years since Breaking the Habit came out? So I don't think you're necessarily going to catch a lawsuit from that one, man.
I mean, if I caught a lawsuit, I'd take it as an honor, so whatever.
It's like took it down or why people actually were like, oh my God, they did it just as good as, Linkin Park or just that piece of it. So yeah, it's like,
Yeah,
I'll take that as a badge of honor, honestly.
it sounds nothing like it, but lyrically, it's like it's the same premise. I wanted to write a song very much about that.
Understandable. I mean, in thinking about where your music comes from too, how much of an inspiration from Fame on Fire and starting it and really creating your sound came from probably listening to Linkin Park when you were younger. It's pretty much going to be there at some point.
Oh, Linkin Park lives rent free in my head, and I will probably always take inspiration from their music because it's just I grew up listening to Linkin Park. It's like a band that was always on. So still to this day.
It's not only that, but think about every band that's pretty much come out, I would say, since around like 2010, and then a lot of other bands that now are blending genres and the ease and comfortability of that. A lot of that can really be traced back to Linkin Park, basically making it accessible. So yep. Linkin Park it's like one of the most influential bands of all time. Easy.
I would definitely say so. 100%. They without a doubt. I'm trying to think of like bands that are like almost more influential than them, and like maybe Metallica, maybe.
I mean, I can't think of anyone that's come out since like since the 2000s. Like I'm talking about the year 2000 beyond that. Like the biggest one from that standpoint is Linkin Park, are almost a quarter of the way through this century. So
yeah, and their sound still holds up to this day too. You're probably right. Probably is Linkin Park.
That's the incredible part too. Their sound still holds up. You could play, you can play Hybrid Theory and it still holds up to this day. And it was made 24 years ago. You play Meteora, anything off of that, boom, still holds up just with the highest quality. And there are so many other bands, including what you guys are doing, that are taking inspiration from that and putting it in your music. And that's why with a lot of rock and metal and a lot of the different genre blending bands that we're seeing today, why they're in incredibly high quality in terms of not only musicianship, but this overall blend. It's because of bands like Linkin Park and how they inspired so many of us.
100%. You're very right.
Apt. I think I am. So yeah, I'll take that as a win. Well, Bryan, I know you got to get going real soon, but I've got one more question I love to ask every artist I have on. It's a way for us to get to know more new music and get to know music that you love. So I'm going to give you 3. So can you name me 3 artists that you absolutely love that you would love to see more people get into?
Oh, so like smaller artists.
They can be smaller. They can be medium sized. They can be big. They can be whoever you want.
Shit. That's hard. God, that's so hard.
You're not the first person to just kind of get frozen up at that point.
Yeah, because there's a lot. I would say smaller artists. I'm gonna shout out Keith Wallen because I'm actually gonna go see him tonight.
Nice.
I really like his like solo music because he plays guitar for Breaking Benjamin. It was a massive band, but his solo music I've been really into lately. I'm gonna shout out. Let's see. I'm gonna shout out my boys band, Dirty Rivals. They're dope. They're South Florida locals. Let's see who else. And then I feel like I had one more that was like pretty decent. What the fuck is her name? Hold on. I gotta pull this up.
Hey, there's about 60% of the people I ask this question, they have to look at their phones or Spotify or something to see what they got going on. So you're pretty much in the norm with this.
Have you heard about a small band named Bon Jovi?
Maybe. I don't know.
I'm kidding. You know what? I'll shout out Mood Ring because I don't know if a lot of people know about them, but like they're very, very cool. Like they're a really cool band. And if you liked the new Bring Me stuff, you'll probably really like them.
So there are 3 really good picks. I'm going to have to check out the middle one, too, that you brought up, the one from South Florida, because that's one I haven't heard yet. But always happy to listen to new stuff. And, well, Bryan, I want to thank you for taking the time today. I really appreciate it. So, everybody, we're going to close this out with 3 things. First things first, the brand new album, The Death Card, is coming out on September 6th. Be sure to go pre-order, pre-save it, and make sure you go and see these guys play live when they're with Wage War in the fall. So, description of the podcast where it says Find Fame on Fire and Line, links, labels for everything is there. Social media-wise, where you can find their website, tour, stream their album, buy some merch. It's all down there. Now it's time for number 2. Bryan, from the last time I had you on the podcast, I still owe you that first round. This is your second time on, so now I owe you 2.
You owe me 2. You do owe me too.
I do owe you two, and I'm still not forgetting about it. I got to find a way to see you live once again, and I'm going to be like, okay, hopefully you don't have a show right after this, because then I can actually pay up on this.
No, I'll still take you up on the beers. Don't worry.
Okay, perfect. And now it's time for number 3. Bryan, cannot say this end this podcast by saying goodbye, because it's your second time on here. Love to have you back on for a third time, and I got to make good on those 2 promises now. So this is not goodbye. This is, I'll see you later.
I'll see you later, man.
Well, folks, that was my interview with Bryan from Fame on Fire. Now it's time for Kevin's final thought. So this is where I'm going with the final thought. Every song, once again, is based on a different tarot card. And that is an incredibly deep thing with so many people that are into tarot, but how deeply involved you can get into it with the meanings, the reverse meanings, the face meanings. There is so much you can go into, and to do something like that, to understand how each song works within that specific card and understand the emotion and the sonic landscape of that. The band had to go so deep into this that they essentially had to learn to become experts themselves on this. While Bryan had the help of his sister, which is an incredible thing, it shows the level of depth and the level of commitment Fame on Fire has to make sure that this is done as well as possible and that this is shown to be the best possible thing. And I think they absolutely hit it on this one, because each song does have that connection to the tarot card. And as you go through the track list, especially when you get to the last couple, Unalive, Closure, and Lie to Me, and you really see where the card comes in, I think not only sonically are they the best, but also in that connective nature, they're the best. So whether you're really into tarot, whether you're just looking it up to try and figure out what each card means like I did, and then diving deep into it, or if you just want to listen to the songs outright, you're going to find something you're going to really like here from Fame on Fire, when they took a lot of that genre blending style with some of those breakdowns, a lot of different post-hardcore influences from bands like Linkin Park, From Ashes to New, and then Lie to Me with how beautiful of a closer this song really is. I want to thank Bryan for being on the podcast. Be sure to check out the Death Card when it comes out on September 6th. Go to the description of the podcast below where it says Find Fame on Fire Online. Links and labels for everything are there for you to follow along with the band, watch their YouTube videos. Be sure to see them live when they perform with Wage War in the fall of 2024 here in the United States, and pre-order the Death Card, or let's stream it right now if it's out right now, and get some merch too. Also, be sure to subscribe to the Chord Progression Podcast right down here on YouTube, and hit the follow button on Spotify and Apple Podcasts if you are there as well. Be sure to like the episodes, help push us in the algorithm, and get more people to know about the podcast and how great rock and metal really is. On top of that, please also follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, link for the podcast below. Bryan, once again, thank you. I still owe you those 2 first rounds, man. 2. Now, that's going to be it for me today, everybody. Thank you for watching, listening to the Chord Progression Podcast. My name is Kevin, and you guys know how I end every single one of these episodes. A big, healthy, and hearty see ya! Yeah.